part of the world is full of glitz, fame, and happy endings, but there are dark places behind the lights that not many people are brave enough to look at. It's no secret that some of the biggest stars have given us classic movies and great acts, but they've also been known for being rude to co-workers, crew, and even fans. Even though they had successful jobs, the bad side of fame has made them some of the most talked about people in Hollywood history. This video tells the truth about 20 of the most well-known people, from stars who are known for causing trouble on set to powerful directors who abuse their power. It's clear that they are talented, but does their fame cover up their horrible behavior? Now's the time to pull back the curtain and see the bad side of the movie city. Most people know William Frawley as Fred Mertz, the funny and likable character on the classic TV show I Love Lucy. His relationship with Vivian Vance made some of the funniest scenes, which helped make the show a classic that will never go out of style. On the other hand, Frawley was not at all like the funny person she was on TV. People knew him for having a short fuse, being grumpy, and drinking a lot, which made him a tough figure to play on set. The stars and directors of I Love Lucy, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, saw this as a problem and made a strict rule. Frawley would be fired right away if he showed up drunk or stopped work 3 times. Even with this ultimatum, Frawley stuck with the show for 9 years. He had many disagreements with his co-stars in the team, but his relationship with Vivian Vance, who played his wife Ethel Mertz, was one of the worst. After the show, they barely talked to each other because they hated each other so much. Their fight was so bad that Vance is said to have praised Frawley's death in 1966. The bad relationship was funny on screen by accident, but it also showed real problems behind the scenes. Even though Frawley had personal problems, his role as Fred Mertz became a classic in American shows. He left behind a great body of comedy, even though his actions off-screen made it hard to work with him. As one of the first people to use television, Milton Berle was known as Mr. Television for his important roles in the early success of the technology. He became one of the most famous stars of TV's golden age thanks to his charismatic acting and natural sense of humor. It's impossible to deny that Berle made comedy better, but behind the scenes, he was known for being bossy and controlling. He is now a controversial figure in the showbiz business. Berle was known for stealing other artists' ideas and comedy acts, which became one of his most famous habits. In the early days of comedy, it was normal to use other people's jokes, but Berle's lack of remorse made many of his peers look down on him. There were times when he used other people's acts without giving them credit. This behavior made Berle less popular in the comedy world and hurt his reputation in the business. When Berle was a guest on Saturday Night Live, he did something that became famous. Berle changed the script at random, did crazy things on air, and even added inappropriate comments without following the director's directions. He also clearly led the production crew, which included stagehands and lighting techs. Making a mess backstage, the SNL staff was so mad at his out-of-control behavior that they said they would never work with him again. There's no denying Berle's comedy skills or his power in the entertainment business, but his haughtiness and lack of professionalism ruined his career. He will always be a controversial figure in the history of TV, a symbol of both good and bad. Frank Fay was one of the first people to do stand-up comedy, which is a style of acting that we still see today. He was one of the best-paid vaudeville acts in the 1,920 cents, making up to $17,500 a week, which was a huge amount of money at the time. Fay was a popular star because he was funny, felt good about himself, and could improvise well. Behind the scenes, though, he was known for being cocky, rude, and having strong opinions that made many of his co-workers dislike him. A lot of people knew that Fay was cocky, rude, and hard to work with. His very anti-Semitic ideas made people in the entertainment industry dislike him a lot, and many people in the business turned their backs on him. He was a great comedian, but he ruined his image by putting others down all the time, which caused a lot of problems that couldn't be solved. His work became less successful because he was cocky and careless. In addition to having problems at work, Fay's domestic life was also full of scandal. There were reports that he abused his wife, actress Barbara Stanwyck, physically and emotionally, which painted a disturbing picture of who he was when he wasn't on stage. Even comedian Milton Berle got into a fight with Faye after Faye said some racist things, an event that made his bad image in the entertainment business even worse. Even though Faye made important contributions to comedy, his bad behavior and toxic personality trumped his accomplishments. Many people remember him as a pioneer of stand-up comedy, but they also remember him as a controversial figure whose reputation was ruined by unacceptable actions and words. Many people think that Alfred Hitchcock was one of the best directors of all time. His legendary position in film history is solidified by classics like Psycho, Rear Window, and Vertigo. He was called the master of suspense because of how creative he was, how innovative his techniques were, and how well he could build suspense. There was, however, a scary dark side to all this success, a pattern of controlling, abusive, and predatory behavior, especially toward actors. Hitchcock didn't see them as partners, but as tools to be used in the way he wanted. He even said that players should be treated like cattle. During the shooting of The Birds, 1963, Hitchcock did something that became famous for being creepy. At the time, Tippi Hedren was a rising star actress who Hitchcock became obsessed with. When she turned down his inappropriate advances, Hitchcock hit her hard. In one very scary scene, he switched out the fake birds for real ones without notice, leaving Hedren to be attacked and hurt over and over again. She was so tired from the experience that she had to go to the hospital. Even worse, when she dared to stand up to Hitchcock, he used his power to hurt her career and keep her from getting important parts. Hitchcock didn't just play tricks on Hedren. Madeleine Carroll was handcuffed to her co-star for hours while shooting the 39 Steps because Hitchcock said he had lost the key. This was all for his twisted joke, and it left her hurt and embarrassed. The bad working conditions Hitchcock made are shown by these events, which he used to torture and hurt players whenever he pleased. Many people still think that Hitchcock's movies are the best ever, but his reputation will always be tainted by how badly he treated the people who helped him make his dreams come true. Rudy Vallee was one of the first music stars in the 1920s and 1930s. He was known for his smooth voice, charming stage appearance, and ability to play many instruments and lead a band. With his famous megaphone, he sang love songs that captivated audiences and set the stage for many acts who would come after. Vallee left a lasting mark on radio and movies as well as music. He is becoming a well-known name, but behind the fame of a star was a man with a bad temper and a lot of mood swings. Sometimes, his behavior offstage was more interesting than his work. Vallee was famous for his angry outbursts on air, especially on Fleischmann's Yeast Hour, where he would scold orchestra members and even make them look bad in front of the crowd. His anger didn't just show up at work. He would fight with photographers and even spectators if they didn't treat him right. Vallee was called a slave manager because he was so mean to the people around him. Many of his employees had a hard time working for him because he was so harsh and abusive. Still, Vallee was a big part of making a lot of stars, like Alice Faye and Frances Langford, who helped shape a new generation of Hollywood stars. Vallee made a lot of important contributions to the entertainment business, but his legacy is more complex. He was a celebrity because of how talented he was, but his bad moods and unpredictable behavior will always be remembered in Hollywood history. In the history of television, Lucille Ball was a pioneer and a comedy star. She was best known for playing the hilarious Lucy Ricardo on I Love Lucy. She was a great actress, but she was also a strong producer and studio boss who changed the entertainment business. Ball is part of Hollywood's pantheon because of the groundbreaking work she has done. Ball, on the other hand, was very different from the bubbly person she was when she wasn't on TV. People behind the scenes said she was cold, detached, and demanding. It was hard to get in touch with her because of how strict and controlling she was at work. One of Ball's most famous stories is about a flight attendant who wouldn't talk to the passenger directly and asked her helper to do it instead. Ball is said to have said, "Ms. Ball doesn't talk to the maid." This story makes it seem like she is even more distant and superior. Ball was divisive, even among people in the same business. Legendary actor Richard Burton once called her a monster of astonishing gracelessness. He was talking about how uncomfortable she was when the camera wasn't on her. Even though these stories are very different from the sweet Lucy we saw on TV, they don't take away from the amazing things she did. Lucille Ball not only changed the comedy business, but she also paved the way for women to work in TV creation in the future. Even though her personal life was complicated, her impact will always be a landmark in Hollywood history. Charlie Chaplin is a hero of the silent film era. He was a pioneer who changed the way movies were made by being creative both in front of and behind the camera. His works like City Lights and The Great Dictator are considered masterpieces. The art of telling stories will never be the same without Chaplin. Even though he was very talented, his personal life was full of scandals and disputes, which made many of his fans doubt the good character they thought he had. Chaplin's relationships with people much younger than him were one of the most talked about parts of his personal life. Mildred Harris and Lita Gray, his first two wives, were both teens when they married Chaplin, which made people think he might be a predator. People also said that Chaplin emotionally abused these women because he had so much power over them. The 1940s saw actress Joan Barry file a paternity suit against Chaplin, which hurt his image even more. Chaplin was finally found not to be the father, but the trial showed shocking details about his personal life, which made his public image even worse. Chaplin's political views were just as controversial as his shocking personal life. At the height of the Red Scare, he was closely watched because people thought he supported communism. Chaplin finally decided to leave the U.S. and found refuge in Switzerland, where he stayed for the rest of his life. Chaplin's contributions to movies are still praised today, but his personal and political scandals put a shadow over his glorious history. Steve McQueen wasn't just a movie star, he was also a sign of badass spirit and strong charm. He was one of the best actors of the films The Greatest 78 and The Magnificent Seven, with roles in classic movies like The Great Escape and The Magnificent Seven. Behind his rough exterior and enticing charm, though, was a man who was complicated, angry, and torn. McQueen's attitude was deeply affected by the rough childhood he had, which was marked by neglect and abuse. He took those hurts into his relationships and work as an adult, making him very competitive, jealous, and hard to get along with. McQueen was known for planning every move on set to keep his place. He was a singer, dancer, and actor who changed the musical genre. Classics like Singing in the Rain and An American in Paris not only showed how talented he was, but also made him a movie icon that will never go away. But behind the smooth exterior and contagious smile was a determined perfectionist whose strict expectations made the workplace stressful and sometimes violent. The time when Kelly was most demanding was when they were making Singing in the Rain. When Debbie Reynolds was 19, she said that working with Kelly was mentally and physically draining and painful. They had to do hard dance moves over and over again until their feet hurt, often making her cry from being so tired. Reynolds worked hard and did a great job in the part, but Kelly will never be able to get over how mean Reynolds was to her. Not just one co-star did he treat badly. Kelly worked with actress Esther Williams on the movie Take Me Out to the Ball Game. She said he was very nervous and competitive. He was so mad that Williams was so tall, he asked her to stoop in scenes to make him look bigger, which shows how sensitive Kelly's ego is and how much she needs to be in charge. No one can deny Gene Kelly's groundbreaking talent or the huge contributions he made to the musical. However, his bad temper and mean behavior toward his co-workers hurt his image. Under the weight of a reputation, Kelly was a great artist but a pain to work with. Many people know Kiefer Sutherland for his famous part as Jack Bauer on the hit TV show 24. His tough, determined, and unbending personality made him look like a scary counterterrorism agent, which earned him an Emmy Award and a large group of devoted fans. But Sutherland's behavior outside of movies has caused a lot of debate, which is different from the heroic character he plays on screen. Many of his co-stars were very critical of how professional he was and how he behaved on set. Freddie Prinze Jr., who worked with Sutherland on 24, told ABC News that he thought Sutherland was the worst person in the world when it came to being professional. Prinze went so far as to say that working with Sutherland made him want to quit acting altogether, which was a very harsh charge against the actor. Prinze wasn't by himself. Shuri Agdashlu, who also stars with Sutherland in 24 and said he was short-tempered and unwilling to work with others, also said she was disappointed in him. Many people thought that her character's sudden exit might have been caused by tensions between the two of them behind the scenes. These stories show a surprising difference between the tough guy hero Sutherland played on screen and the unstable and controversial person he was in real life. Even though Sutherland was a great actor, many of his co-stars had bad thoughts of him because of how he behaved. Tommy Lee Jones is one of the best and most recognized actors in Hollywood. He is best known for his roles in Men in Black, The Fugitive, and No Country for Old Men. With his calm personality, convincing acting, and amazing ability to change into different characters, he has solidified his place in the movie business and earned praise from reviewers. However, Jones is known for being distant, cold, and even unfriendly when he talks to people in real life, despite how he acts on screen. Jones doesn't sign autographs or take pictures with people as often as many other Hollywood stars. But she usually just walks away without saying anything. He is not only cocky around the public but also around his co-workers on set. When he was making Batman Forever, one of the most famous stories about how tough he was happened. Jones worked with Jim Carrey at that time. In a later interview, Carrey said that Jones told him straight out, "I hate you. I really don't like how you act." The angry words made the set tense, even though both actors tried to act professionally. Jones was famous in Hollywood for being honest. He was a great actress with a long and successful career, but many of his co-workers didn't want to work with him because he was hard to get along with and rude. Faye Dunaway is one of the most talented actresses in Hollywood. Her roles in Bonnie and Clyde, Network, and Chinatown left a lasting impact, but her reputation on screen has often been overshadowed by the fact that she can be tough to deal with and does some pretty bad things behind the scenes. People know that Dunaway can be hard to work with and can even be mean to her co-stars and workers. One of the most famous events happened on the set of Mommy Dearest. Rutanya Alda, a co-star, said that Dunaway hit her hard during a scene. Even though the slap wasn't planned, it shocked Alda, and Dunaway kept acting like it was part of the play. That wasn't the end of her bad behavior. Several people who worked with Dunaway said she often had unplanned rage tantrums. Sometimes they even threw things at crew members and yelled at them until they cried. Dunaway was also involved in another scandal when she was fired from the Broadway play Tea at 5 for making the workplace too stressful for safety. Some sources also said she had strange habits, like peeing in the trash in her dressing room or refusing to flush the toilet, which made her image even more controversial. It's clear that Dunaway is a Hollywood celebrity, even though she has had problems off-screen. She was a bright but unstable star, though, and is remembered as one of the most complicated people in movie history. During the 1930s and 1940s, Errol Flynn was one of the most famous and coveted actors in Hollywood. His action-packed parts in movies like The Adventures of Robin Hood, Captain Blood, and Seahawk made him famous. The golden age of Hollywood was summed up by Flynn's good looks, charm, and strong screen presence. But his life outside of acting was full of controversy. His careless actions and legal problems often took away from his work successes. In 1942, Flynn was charged with statutory rape of 2 teenage girls. This was one of the most well-known crimes. There's a lot of coverage of the trial in the news, even though Flynn was eventually found not guilty. But the event hurt his public image for good and led to the phrase, "like Flynn," which refers to how sexual he was. Outside of the trial, Flynn's life was full of wild parties, drinking too much, and having affairs with other women, which led to a lot of tabloid rumors. Flynn's money problems were another thing that made his life rough. He made a lot of money over the course of his work, but he wasted it all on bad investments and unnecessary spending. Flynn's health finally got worse because of his expensive way of life, which caused him to die at age 50. Even though Flynn's heroic parts on screen made him a Hollywood legend, his real life showed a darker and more troubled side of the man. Kirk Douglas is a Hollywood legend, famous for his leading parts in classic movies like Paths of Glory and Spartacus. He is a movie legend who is praised for his skill and power in the business. But his personal life has also been a source of debate. Many claims about his behavior outside of acting were made public after he died. These included criticism of how he handled his relationships and job. Natalie Wood's sister Lana Wood made claims about something that happened in the past, but these claims were not proven. Throughout his life, Kirk Douglas was also known for having difficult relationships with women. Several of these relationships got a lot of attention from the media. Even though his personal life has been in the news, Kirk Douglas is still admired for the great things he did in movies, and how he affected many people over the years. Through his many famous roles, he made a part of Hollywood history, and became one of the most recognizable names in the entertainment business. John Connery will always be known as the first James Bond. It was this legendary part that made him famous and solidified his place as a Hollywood legend. Many people fell in love with him because of his cool attitude, natural charm, and strong screen presence. But Connery wasn't as perfect in real life as he was in his parts. In an interview with Playboy in 1965, Connery said, "I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with hitting women." This was one of the most controversial parts of his career. He said that there were times when it was okay to hit someone without using your hands. Many people condemned Connery's words right away, but he didn't feel bad about them. He stuck to his beliefs even decades later when he talked to Barbara Walters and said, "I haven't changed my views." It was well known that Connery was a tough person to work with, and his views on domestic violence were controversial. Directors and co-stars often didn't get along with him, and his strong nature sometimes made it hard for him